What makes a good movie? If you're like me, you've thought about that question before. And the answer is, there are a lot of things that go into making a good movie. Honestly, that's why there are a lot of bad movies, because there's a ton of things that can go wrong. In my mind, however, there is one thing that makes a good movie above all else: the characters. If you were in elementary school at any time in the last 10 years, you've probably heard this before. Character setting and plot, character setting and plot, character setting, and while it may sound lame now, that dumb song talks about the three most important elements in storytelling. And obviously, movies are a medium for storytelling. So what makes characters so important anyway? Well, characters drive the story. What are stories if they're not about characters? Characters often are what keeps an audience engaged or attached to a movie. If a filmmaker wants an audience to fully experience the events of a movie, they need to make sure that their characters are engaging, relatable, interesting, compelling, or likable. If a character is any of those things, the audience can latch onto them and experience the story through their eyes. There are certain things that have to be done in a movie in order to make characters engaging or relatable though. First, the audience must learn who that character is. This is called characterization, and it can be done in two ways: directly or indirectly. Direct characterization is the easiest, however it can be less effective and it can come across as bland. When a movie tells you something about a character directly through dialogue or through narration or maybe through titles, this is direct characterization. Here's an example. There are two high schoolers talking in a hallway and a third high schooler starts walking up to them. One of the high schoolers says to the other, "Hey look, it's Peter Parker, he's such a nerd." Now we know that the kid that's walking up to them is Peter Parker and that he's a nerd. I wonder what's gonna happen to him. Indirect characterization is when you learn about a character through their actions. It's a lot harder to do, however it can produce better results and it makes a character in general more relatable. Here's an example. We see a teenager laying in bed. He fell asleep reading his science textbook. We can tell because it's sitting on his chest as he's snoring. All of a sudden his alarm goes off and he wakes up. He grabs his big, thick glasses and puts them on, and he grabs his camera that has a sticker on it that says "Property of Peter Parker" as he walks out the door of his room. This was a completely different scenario, but now we know that his name is Peter Parker and that he's a nerd. And it's also a much more interesting scene. Now that the characters have been established, they must go on a journey. Not physically necessarily, but emotionally. This is called a character arc or character development. It's basically the idea that at the end of the story, the main character or characters can't be in the same place as when they began. They must go through an emotional journey that causes them to change in some way. For example, at the beginning of A New Hope, Luke Skywalker is a conflicted teenager who doesn't want to spend the rest of his life farming and wants to go on some adventure. However, when the opportunity presents itself for him to join the rebellion and master the Force, he's reluctant. By the end of Return of the Jedi, Luke is a confident and experienced Jedi Master who has aided in the downfall of the Empire and turned his dark side father to the light side. Luke went on a journey that changed him almost completely, and he took us along with him. If a main character does not change at all over the course of a movie, it makes the story much less interesting and compelling. A movie can be a visual and technical masterpiece, but if its characters aren't developed or characterized well, it can still end up being bland and boring. And that's why characters are so important. Well, that's about all I have for this week. This is a new kind of video that I'm trying. It's not a review at all. It's just kind of talking about the aspects of filmmaking. And I think I'm really gonna make more of these. I really liked making this video a lot. It was a lot of fun to write and research and just talk about. If you enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, have a great week. See ya.